All right, network. Cisco routers, 223. Thursday, we're doing Eigrp. I'm not going to go through all the details. This is our configuration. They actually did this. They created it. I haven't double checked the addressing and so forth, but I will a little bit tonight. I'll get another picture of that a little bit. We did the example to where we took a look at Eigrp, feasible distance, and reported distance, successor, and feasible successor. Router 1 is our premise. That's where we're going to. And we're going up here to this router, which we don't know exactly where it is, but we have an address to go to there. So it's like going from this LAN to that one up there. And then I made up some numbers. To get to this neighbor is 5. To get to this neighbor is 3. And then to get to this neighbor is 1. Okay, I made those up. These two neighbors is 1 between those two. And we don't know that. The only information we would know would be this. If I was to hold it there just right, so we would know this information. Okay? Then I went up, we made up some numbers. We said that's 10. So right there in the blue, 10's my reported distance. And that's 20. So that's a 20 reported distance. There's an extra 1 there. So this is 21 reported distance. So then we calculated our feasible distance. And I think I got a little glare there. Let's see if I can get rid of that. So there they are. Feasible distance of 15 going to router 2. Feasible distance of 23 to router 3. And feasible distance of 22 to router 4. So our route will be this one. Okay? With a feasible distance of 15. Now, what we do here is we're going to look to see if one of these two is a feasible successor. So we looked at the reported distance. So this one reports a distance of 20. So that can't be a feasible successor because it's not less than 15. This one has a reported distance of 21, and it can't be a feasible successor because it has a distance of 15. And here's a reason why. Because it could create a loop. Let's look at this one right here. That had a reported distance of 20, but we can't make that a successor because if you look at the diagram as a whole, if I back up here a little bit, that router right there there's a distance of 1, 2, and then a 15 going this way. Its route to that router up there is actually through our main router. So if we made that the feasible successor, and it became the successor, we'd send the packets there, it would send them to here, and back here to get to where it needed to go, and then we'd send them back to there. So we would create a loop. All right, so I'm going to get that whole picture. So that was our example of showing how that would work. And then we went through all these terms. We reviewed and actually talked a little bit about each of these. Composite metric, it uses multiple metrics to create its metric. Dual does the calculation, that's the algorithm, and it does automatic summarization. We just went over successor is where it's going to go. A feasible successor would be the next option. And reported distance is the distance we get from one of our neighbors, telling us how far it knows to the networks, to connected networks. If we look at a topology table, not a routing table, a topology table, on the left it'll show us if those routes are passive or active. If they're passive, that means we've converged and that's good. If they're active, that means dual is doing some work on them, and those routes wouldn't be trusted. Eigrp It's a classless distance vector internal gateway protocol. So distance vector, for example, when we looked at this example over here, when we did these, this router only sees its neighbors and takes the information from its neighbors to develop its routes. Now, with Eigrp, which is proprietary, just Cisco, so it has to be Cisco IOS's, Cisco equipment. Eigrp will build a topology table based on the information it gathers. And we're going to go through that more detailed tomorrow. So we have bonded or triggered updates. Instead of like other distance vector routing protocols that just send the entire routing table at a certain time, this will send it only the parts it needs, only at a time that triggers an update. Protocol dependent modules, it's very scalable. I'm not going to go through all the details. Reliable transport protocol, this does both reliable and unreliable transport depending on what it's sending. So Cisco, instead of using TCP UDP, they have written their own transport protocol. Hello packets sent between the routers to assure that the router's still there and nothing's changed, and then partial bounded updates. That goes back to this idea we get triggered updates and they're bounded. They're partial and they only cover the areas that need updating. All right, so this was the example that we're using in class. And we need to clean up a few things on that. And we'll continue this tomorrow.